Happy Wednesday, everyone. Everyone's just filtering in at the moment, and I look forward to starting probably a minute after, just to give folks, as it turns out, when we get onto Zoom, that's the time some people or Zoom wants to update. So anyway, we'll give folks just an extra minute there. We'll just give folks just another minute or so just to get going. And thank you all for joining. I guess I'll state from the beginning, if there's questions that you have during the presentation, feel free to drop them into the Q&A, and Ashley and Melissa will address those. Just one more minute and we'll get started here. Okay, so it's about a minute after, so let's just get started. My name is Dr. Jim Lanny, and I'm the CEO of Intellectus Qualitative. Melissa Moran is on, who is the president, and Ashley is our representative and liaison. And I want to just go over some very basic things during this hour. It might not even take an hour. And I want to talk a little bit about Intellectus 360 and what's under that umbrella of Intellectus Qualitative that I will demonstrate today. Intellectus Statistics, which is our quantitative AI-infused tool. And then there's courses that complement both the qualitative and the quantitative. Then I'm going to jump into what we promised, which was show you how we're doing inductive coding, how we do deductive coding, and then seems like it's kind of in going backwards, but our old traditional ways of manual coding and thematizing, what we've done with AI to infuse kappas using AI to calculate kappa coefficients, and then our insights document to how to present findings. Then I'm going to just touch briefly on how we're going to roll out different kinds of kappas so your colleagues can also get involved, and then a theme board, and then other questions and answers as we go. And as I would say as I say during most of these presentations, don't worry about taking notes. It's all being recorded, and everyone will get the recording after. And then before I get started too, I just want to say that for any of those that want personalized demonstrations or trials or course information, have questions or pricing, you can contact Melissa at melissa@intellectusstatistics.com, Ashley at intellectusstatistics.com, call us or check out the website. Okay, so without further ado, let's just talk about Intellectus 360. Intellectus 360 is really a company that is helping folks do data analysis. In this particular case, qualitative data analysis. In the statistics, we have interpreted output in plain English. And then there's courses, there's 80 lessons, upwards of 100 lessons to support the learning of qualitative and quantitative data analysis. As you can tell, we are embracing technology, as you'll see in a few moments. And I would ask that, having folks come here, and I appreciate you all showing up. But if you like what you see, share it. I mean, I think networking and sharing ideas is really critical to the success of people doing analysis, but also broadly speaking, the success of people learning and doing things out in the world. So if you like what you see, please do share it. So, okay, let's just get to this. So, and I will, you know how these things go. There's 20 screens going on here. Okay, so Intellectus Qualitative is a online tool, and so we can go to create project. So first thing I'm going to do is do the inductive auto coding. Okay, so I'm going to create a project, and I'll call this the inductive, which is really Crow from ASU did an interview for about an hour. And what you'll see immediately is a place to put in a purpose statement. And let me make sure I have the right one. Okay. So I'll put in the purpose statement of the research. And then I'll go ahead and add research questions to it. The reason that it's important to put in the purpose and the research question is that when we use AI, we want AI to have the context that that the researcher has in their brain as well. So make sure I did that correctly. Okay, so create a project, name the project, put in the purpose statement and research questions, and hit submit. And this is the layout of the tool. There's a place to upload, well, to get data in, and you can upload PDFs or Word documents. You can upload audio or video files that will be transcribed at a quarter a minute, and then get that right into the tool, or you can just start typing. The other part of this is you'll see the AI coding, which I'll get to in a moment, and then kind of manual and AI coding and thematizing and memos. So we'll kind of talk about these 3 blocks. So I'm just going to upload text, and I'm going to upload the interview of Michael Crow. And then close that. And then here is the interview. So that's the first thing, is getting data in and getting in those research questions and purpose statement. So for the inductive, all we do is go to the AI coding and then go to inductive. It wants you to double check that the purpose statement and research questions are there. Now, this can take a minute. The interview of Michael Crow was about an hour, so it's about 15 pages. And it's going to take approximately a minute or so to actually use those research questions and purpose statement, start going through the transcript. Then when it identifies a relevant code, it has to then go name the code, and then it has to then describe the code. So there's several steps that are happening here, and we put it at the moment at 15-second increments to kind of give us a gauge, but my sense is it takes about a minute or so to really do those several sets of tasks. And I always compare these things to not how long I'm sitting here, which is a minute or so, but how long did it actually take me to get through that hour transcript, and then to identify codes and then name those codes and describe those codes. So that's the process that's happening here. I am sure as technology gets enhanced, these things will get shorter in time. But at the moment, we wait about a minute. And here we are. So our qualitative results are ready. And I'll go ahead and view that. So what's happened during that process is that we found 4 different codes. And here they are. And here is the excerpt. And I'll just go ahead and apply those results. And I'll go back to the, so I identified 2 codes with 2 excerpts each. This is important because now when I go through, I mean, you can start the process like this to get going. And let's just take a peek at what's happening here. So educational transformation or education transformation. Here's the description, and then here are the excerpts that are supported with it. This would be a good jumping off place to perhaps start your analysis, given those research questions and purpose. I might as well just look at, well, if I'm looking at education transformation and leadership insights, can I use AI to create a theme? So to do that, I can click on AI Assist. And if I think that those 2 codes go together based on the code name, code description, and the excerpts, I can generate an AI assisted theme. And here is a editable theme name and theme description that I can just add if you would like. And here we have the theme, and I can just tie those codes to that theme by just dragging it up. So that's the inductive process. Now let's just move over to the deductive process. And I'm going to go back to projects. And this was a project, an interview with Bill Gates on PBS. And then I'm going to go again I'm going to put in the purpose statement. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add a research question, research questions. Another research question. Okay, and then submit. So that gets the project rolling. Then I want to, since it is deductive, I'd like to upload a existing code book. So I'm going to import a code book which has pre-existing codes and descriptions. And here we have the 4 different codes. And if I look at those, I have a code, global health and equity, and then the description of that. Okay. And likewise for other ones. Okay, now let me go ahead and get the transcript in. So again, upload file. This was also roughly half hour, 45-minute interview. And here is the interview between Bill Gates and Woody Woodruff, Judy Woodruff, that is. Okay, so now I can go to, so we've created a project, put in a purpose statement and research questions. I've uploaded my code book. Helpful if you have others working on it. You can import and export code books with descriptions. And then we have the data set here. So I'm going to go to AI coding and then go to deductive. This is a place to kind of edit this or add other questions if you'd like. Obviously, the more questions and the better. I think that this is a fair statement for any of the AI-laden technology. The more specific and detailed the prompts or the context that you're putting in, the better one's results will be. So I'll go ahead and hit continue. Again, it's now using several pieces of information. It's obviously using the text. It's using the research questions and purpose. It's using the existing 4 codes with no excerpts tied to it. And the descriptions there. So it's got to chew through all of that information to come up with some tight excerpts that apply to those codes. This would be enormously helpful if you had a very large set of transcripts, for example. That was pretty quick. Very large set of transcripts, and saying, okay, you know what? If you have existing codes or you're adding additional transcripts, you can use those codes and AI to look at those other transcripts. So here we found 9 excerpts. Let's go ahead and apply those results. And apply. So what we have is, you can see over here for this first one, go to the details. So I have the existing code and description, and now we've added several excerpts to go with that. Okay, so global health and equity is the code name. And then here we're talking about, vaccines is a miracle, 4 countries, that's part of equity. I think he's just talking about money here. So if this doesn't really capture, like, well, wait a second, how does that really relate? I can go to that, immediately go to that excerpt and say, well, what is the context? So I may perhaps need to go back over here to Judy, and perhaps even go down as well. So you can easily edit that excerpt, tying together that the excerpt you really want, and the code. For both of these cases, I do think it's critically important that you actually have to go into those excerpts and read them to make sure that they make sense to your brain. These are just, helpers, but they're not the end all. And just like we had in the inductive case, I can go to add theme. Okay, I can use AI if I want to look at philanthropy and equity, for example. And then AI very rapidly grabs an editable theme name and description, creates it, and then I can now tie my excerpts, okay, excuse me, my codes and excerpts to the theme. All right. The third thing I want to do is kind of show you just general traditional ways of doing things. And I think the point here is that the ease of which we really want to make the thematizing process happen. So here I already have a set of interviews that have lots of themes and codes underneath it. Okay. I should mention that when you're doing all of this kind of work, importing data, creating codes and themes, we do have a memo section, which is really logging each of those processes down. So you have some tracking of it. And then I'll just jump to the insights document. And the insights document is a place where I want to start presenting my results. So one of the things that was really obvious early on is that to assess integrated reliability of my themes was an enormous process. So, which involved going to find additional raters, training them, getting the materials ready, getting the room ready, and then conducting all of those analyses. So it's a very laborious task to do that. Well, in our AI kappa analysis, what the process that you just observed behind the scenes was that every excerpt was then looked to see if it agreed with that theme or not. And it did that 3 times for every excerpt. And then do that for all the different themes. And what it presents to the researcher or the student or faculty is that you have a quick glimpse of what that integrated reliability is. So if you have a, integrated reliability of 0.76, you said, gosh, that's substantial. And you can feel kind of comfortable that you're on beam there, that the excerpts, codes, and themes are really meshing. Whereas if you have a negative kappa, you cannot have a negative kappa. You can only have zero. Skill development or even employee autonomy, for example, you might say, well, it's really not as good as it can get. So then you want to go back and start looking at how everything is being tied together. So without going through a long task of additional raters, you can really get a sense of how you're doing in this process. Okay. The next part of building, and then of course, when you go to present your document, you'll want to present those kappas. And it really is quite a task for other folks to really calculate that. Even different research teams are like, it's very tough to do that. Okay, let me go ahead and get to the theme description. And here I have my different themes. Okay, and I'll just grab employee well-being. I can then select some excerpts that I want to be representative of employee well-being. And you can see a nice little summary of this. So here is our employee well-being theme. Here's a description of that theme. Here are the codes involved with that theme. And then here are my supporting excerpts. The last two pieces, I can generate my excerpt list very quickly and where they came from. I can look at my memo list very quickly. And then I can download all this into an editable Word document. I can't find it, but let me see here. Okay, here we are. Okay, so here's my reliability. Here's my theme description with supporting excerpts, my entire excerpt list. This would be useful if folks are getting additional raters, which I'll talk about in a minute. But you have that list readily available, and then memos of what's happened and when. Okay. So I want to just talk about a couple of upcoming things. One, even though we have the AI kappa, it's as I say, it's looking at each excerpt 3 times. Even if you have additional raters, you don't expect necessarily that rater 1 and rater 2 or rater 1 and rater 3 that they'd all have the same inter-rater reliabilities. So things can vary. You can have good raters and not so good raters. So we are going to have a mode where you can share your codes and themes with others, and then easily rate to which excerpt goes with which theme or not. So that is in development, probably 2 months out. And then the other piece of it is really a theme board where we're going to have not only the themes and codes, but a nice, easy way to move them around. And so I'll just leave it at that moment there. Okay. So, Melissa, I guess I will ask if there are any questions. I know I went through the inductive coding with Crow very quickly, the deductive coding with Bill Gates, and then some of the how we do that. Well, maybe I didn't do that. So I went right to the transcripts and memos, so I missed a step. So with these interviews, so they do have codes and themes, but just to show you that I can add additional codes yet another way. And one is just to manually do it. So I can enter in, example code, okay, an example description. So I can add codes manually, of course. You'll see at the bottom here. Unassigned codes. Okay. All right. My example is probably in alphabetical order. There we are. I can also, on the fly, if I thought that this was an important passage, I can also create a code. Well, so I have the excerpt that I think is important. I can have AI name and describe that code by going to AI Assist. So I'm going through reading it. I can come up with a code name and code description and add that. And then you've seen how I've used AI to this thematizing process. And of course, you can add it manually as well. Okay, so inductive coding, deductive coding, and then support around the naming and describing of particular excerpts, and then some of the presentations that I've showed here. And then some of the upcoming colleague kappa, I'll call it at the moment, and some theme board to help organize things. So I think with that, I will stop for a moment and see if there's any questions that I can respond to. Okay, so I do see in the chat, okay, right? And then Q&A. Okay. Is the IRR, interreliability function, able to calculate more than 2 raters at a time? So currently, so good question. So currently, we just have the AI doing that kappa. When we come up with the, again, I'll call it the colleague kappa. So yes, we'll be able to send, I'll be able to, who's ever doing the thematizing, will be able to send the, I'll say a readily available excerpts and themes out to numerous, 2 or more, even as actually even at just one. One with the initial rater, initial researcher, and an additional rater, or even more. And we will then go ahead and calculate those kappas for each pair as well as for overall. So yes, you'll be able to have more than 2. And in fact, during my dissertation, we had 15 different raters. We had literally tens of thousands of kappas, given over 20 themes. So yes, that will happen. Can you talk about how the product compares to existing qualitative software programs that you're adding AI coding? I guess there's a couple ways of doing things in the world, and the approach taken here is really to kind of say, what do folks need? So we really built it from the ground up without really comparing it and saying, how do we make a useful, easy tool for people to do qualitative research, and then have AI be an assistant with it. So I can't really speak to that. We're kind of blazing our own path through, and so I don't really know what other folks are kind of doing. How's it different from in vivo? Again, what I can share is that the DNA of this tool, and maybe I will touch on the statistics tool for a second. Let me just do this for a second. So this is the quantitative tool. Let me just do something real quick. Here is some data. Okay, and if I wanted to correlate these two, let me see. Hopefully I don't have anything in here, but I'm sure I do. No, perfect. So just to share which we'll get to the other tools and in vivo and other things. Here I'm just doing a pair t-test, which saying is there a difference from CTE to PTSD? Okay, just to give you a flavor. So with this quantitative tool, assumptions are built in, it conducts it, and it interprets it. The results are interpreted in plain English. There was a significant difference from CTE to PTSD, APA tables, and helpful plots, downloadable to an editable Word document. So this description of this quantitative tool and the qualitative tool. So I don't know what they're doing. We want to make it as simple as humanly possible to conduct analyses and to present analyses and have AI's support in doing that. So that's been our laser focus, and we try to keep things to a minimum in terms of, not a gazillion types of options. This might not even be the right tool. If you like syntax and you need syntax, you may want an SPSS or a SAS or something of that sort. So we have not been focused on what other folks are doing, rather, what do we believe? And we've taken a lot of feedback, about, hey, add this, add that. So I think that's been our guiding lights, is, what makes it simple to do and present, and then listen very carefully to, and maybe too carefully, to what other people say they want and need. Can AI inform the decision about data saturation? No new codes emerging. Um, um, Great question. Don't have a great answer. I guess if AI is going through it and we're going through it, what else can we do, right? So, does that ensure saturation? Probably not. Um, so, I don't know about that. So that's a good question, though. Uh, and maybe there is uh, somebody, someone on my team will take a good note of that, like me, um, about helping with that part of it. Okay. Thank you for that question. Is there any research published on the AI reliability, reducibility? So I don't know that answer either. This is a move. Everyone is, you know, flying on this plane and building it as we go too. So there'll be a lot of research out about, you know, how well it's doing and so forth. My own sense of it is that there is some reliability, even around the kappas, for example. If I reran that, I'm not going to get the same exact kappas. And my team talked about this and said, well, wait a second. And what's going on here? And the fact is, even if you have different people coming, again, you may not get the same kappa or the same integrated reliability. So um, those answers will come out, I am sure. And I don't have them. Okay. It seems though the AI did not code all the passages in the transcript. Can you instruct it to code all passages that you can determine which are relevant or not? You know, love the question. And so, right. So it is just, this is the inductive. So it is just coding what it thinks is relevant here. So I wouldn't say that we wanted to code everything. To me, it's analogous to, highlighting everything in a textbook. The highlighting becomes useless because we're saying that everything is important and not distinguishing between important and unimportant. So I'm not sure that we want to do that. Um, so.
I think it's also important that we say never rely fully on the AI, right? You're still going to go through and read your transcripts. You can add codes, you can edit the codes that it created. So you need to make sure that you go through and read through and actually check everything in the document.
And I think that's right. I mean, the rule, the best practice is go through, read it, reread it. Even if you actually did the interviews yourself, read it, reread it, start taking notes and memos. You can start adding memos about what kinds of things, codes or themes are emerging in your brain. Can you show an example of what it will put out as a written product for analysis? So I think, make sure I'm in the right one. I want to make sure I have your question right. So can you show example of what it will put out as a written product for analysis, qualitative or theme? For example, multiple documents with the same coding applied.
So I think your
That's
transcripts
what
where you
she
have the
said.
3 and then you have the codes that are applied to all 3. Yeah.
Did that answer the question, Melissa? Do you
I
think, or?
think so in this example, there's more than one document. There's 3 interviews and the codes and themes are applied to all 3 interviews.
Correct,
And then
right,
if you go to the insights document, that's what the output would look like.
right. All right, let's go to the next. Will the two make graphics for qualitative data like QDA, minor, light? So the only, let's say the current, let me get here, details. So at the moment, I mean, this is the kind of some of the graphics that we have around how much a particular code is contributing to that theme. We've thought about word clouds. Feel free to give us your, what kinds of things. So I don't know about QDA miners graphics, but I'd be very happy to look at, get an email from you and say, hey, these would be really great. So please do send them to us. And looks like Ashley has provided her email address. And so there you go. Can you explain how the kappa works to show reliability for each theme looking 3 times the same code? So it's really, the kappa is really looking at each excerpt 3 times and saying, does it agree with what the rater, excuse me, with what the researcher said it goes to? So does that excerpt best go with employee autonomy, or is it better go with some of those other ones? And then it does that 3 times for that excerpt and getting, so with respect to, so we'll wind up with a 2 by 2 of, how many times the AI and the researcher are agreeing, how many times is the AI and the researcher agreeing that they both disagree, that it should not be there, and then on the off diagonals, kind of the researcher said that excerpt and theme go together, and the AI says not so fast, and vice versa, where the AI said that excerpt and theme go together, and the researcher said not so fast. So that's essentially how that kappa is calculated. Okay. If the kappa changes, what is the value of using this? Well, fair enough. I mean, when you have 3 raters, right? And rater 1 and rater 2, they show some great integrated reliability, and rater 1 and rater 3, horrible reliability. Should we, just throw out that rater? I think it's a quick gauge in a way that we haven't had before. That believe it or not, what happens without this, and I haven't seen them anywhere else, but I haven't looked that hard, that people are either not doing any reliability, so that's not the best practice in the world, or they're getting other raters, which is a very laborious, expensive task, which you can do, will help automate that. But it's giving you some sense of what based on AIs and the rater, it's giving you some indication that, gosh, I should be looking at those excerpts and that theme name. So that's the value of it. Is it perfect? No. Is it better than nothing? I would say, yeah. It doesn't cost you anything to get that. So I think it's a great tool. Thanks for that. Though for student research is beginning, the potential will be for people to not do their own coding, to understand their data. The we initially started out with just the support around the AI assisted code name and description. It was by listening to people that they really wanted some other way of going through it. So, all I can tell you is there's no cheating in life. There's no, I went to the gym and did 20 push-ups and didn't get out of the house. So, is there that um, chance of that happening? Of course. For the quantitative, a similar argument, I'll say, was made, and similar arguments throughout time, which is students are going to just plug that in. So what we've done is we've published lots of stuff with Turnitin. So that's been our fix there. For these things, I would say that there's no shortcuts. And I think to tell students and to share that there are no shortcuts, that if you just use this, you may be missing things, and it'll behoove you to go in and dig into it.
Jim,
Go ahead.
if you don't mind, I just want to get back to the question that we answered earlier, showing the themes and codes. If you could just click the 3 buttons on the side of a theme to show the codes and excerpts related, and then the same with the codes, and then the excerpts view really quick, I think we'll cover all of everything.
Got it. So here's the theme detail, the name, description, what's in there, and then no, I didn't scroll down enough. The excerpts associated with that theme. And I can go to it immediately and change it if I want. Okay. So that's one piece of it. That's at the theme level. The code level, we also have details. This does not have a description, theme name, description. Oopsie. And then the theme it's associated with, and then the excerpt there. Is that it, Melissa? Are we?
And then if you just quickly show the excerpts where you can see how they're linked together as well, I think that'll cover everything she was looking for.
This piece here?
Yep, the little 3 dots, and then you can show, this is the excerpt. There's one code, you can edit the codes there, and you can delete it if you'd like. Okay, you can go back to questions.
Got it. Thanks for that. So I'm assuming the product saves us time. Well, it's I don't know if it's going to save us time. I hope that it's more rigorous, that maybe there were codes that I didn't think about, or naming of codes. So I'm not sure this is a great time saver. I think it's adding to it, frankly, that I want to be doing everything I did before, but I want to do that in a rigorous fashion. So I'm not sure the assumption of time saving is quite there, but I'll finish the rest of your thought. But then you also mentioned to check, read, reread. Agreed. So how much time do we save? So yeah, I mean, I don't know about the time savings. I think folks will do a better job, a more thorough job of thematizing. I think by doing inductive coding, you have some places to start where you may not have thought about that code or that code name or that code description. So I don't think it's a substitution. I think it's an addition to. When it gets to the quant piece, yeah, there's a huge time savings because I'm not figuring out the tool. And maybe there's time savings with the qualitative by not figuring out the tool and having to watch 50 videos to do it. Here, tables are made, figures are made, downloads to an editable Word document. So I guess maybe in terms of the learning curve, it's shorter. So I'll stop there because the next question is coming up here. I understand the AI comparing to the assigned code, but why 3 times? To get some average. Just I didn't want to do it one time and let the AI have it at 3 times. Could have done it 5 times, but one time just seemed intuitively to be too sparse. And it happens pretty quick, relatively speaking. I thought you said Kappa might change even if you don't bring in another rater. So there's a couple of Kappas going on here. So at the moment, we have I'll say the AI Kappa. We could just rerun it real quick and compare. So we can compare it. All right. All right. So yes, it could just like, so if it was a perfect kappa every time, let me rephrase that. If the AI always had the same exact agree or disagree with the excerpt in the theme, I would only run it one time. The fact that there's variation there made me want to run it 3 times. Um, and so we have, let me see if I can get some of this stuff. Check all. So here we have, the first two are, moderate, substantial, you know, fair, substantial, zero for skills. So, it did an okay job. So now we're at it 6 times, right? So basically it took those first two and moved it from moderate, and then these first two over here were fair. So took the first two fair, the moderate. The third one, was substantial. The other one, no agreement. So not bad, not bad. Um, Again, gives you some sense of it. Is it the end all, the kappa with a capital T? No. So, okay. I apologize if you already addressed this. But does the kappa function identify the areas where the kappa is the lowest? We're not drilling in at that at the moment. I think what you mean is which particular excerpt. That's a really great question. So, where which excerpt is really has the lowest agreement, I'll say. That's a really interesting question. So while we're looking at the kappas at the theme level, there perhaps could be some other item analysis. I think that's a good point. So I'm going to jump to Claudia. I love the inductive coding. Great. Thank you. Seems like it should work better than doing word search. Oh, I agree with that. So that's right. So the inductive is looking at those research questions and purpose statement, and you could probably put in other contextually relevant information too, by the way. And using AI to look at all those synonyms and all those other things. So yes, it's going to be hugely advantageous over just a plain word search. And we do have, if you want to do a plain word search, you could do it right there. So we do have that search as well. So you can do that. But yes. And you always want to run it more than once. I think that's right. I think that's right. So even with the inductive and deductive, look, I guess there is some rigor in running that again a couple of times. So yeah, and again, it costs you a minute of your time, and then if there's additional codes and excerpts, then that would be advantageous for you to look at. And I think you can scan, right? I can now I'm having particular excerpts. It's going to be easy to scan those 20 or more quickly than, I'm getting into a typically 30-page document or something like that. So, are the qualitative and quantitative modules merged into one tool? The short answer is no, not yet, if ever. The quantitative tool, though, we do have a cool tool, which is a text classification. So it's taking an open-ended response, which is very frequent at the end of a quantitative survey, open-ended questions, and being able to use AI to thematize those and then bucket those themes. So now I can use my other data, my quantitative data with my buckets of texts. All right. And Melissa's answering your question. Other questions, other broad questions. Well, you can continue to ask, let's get this, if I can find it. So you can continue to ask questions. As I say, you can get demos, trials, course information. I didn't really get into the courses, but there's, as I say, upward of 100 lessons, 80 plus for sure. And we're happy to answer all of those. And as I started the session with, we really want to make data analysis simple, both quantitative and qualitative. We are embracing technology and a lot of smart programming. And my ask of you all is to, share it, that it's critical that if we're going to move this ball forward, that it's important to share what you find valuable with other folks, because that's what we need to evolve us. Melissa, do you have any other thoughts prior to us wrapping up?
No, we had a few questions about trials and things earlier. Just reach out to Ashley and she can get you set up. But I think that's everything.
Fun. And then we'll do this again in maybe a month or so. And if you want trials around the quantitative tool, Intellectus statistics, happy to do that. Ashley and Melissa both, or Ashley can definitely assist with that. And a lot of people hung in for the whole 15 minutes, so I really appreciate that. So thank you all so much. Have an awesome rest of the week, and thanks for your attention, and you are also allowing us to forward interesting tools and technology laden tools. So thank you, and have a great rest of the week.